Helping bring you tonight's game, Spoon River Animal Clinic, compassionate care when needed most. The Bank of Farmington, with locations in Canton and Farmington. Remax Traders Unlimited, Susie McMillan, your local agent. WVYS, the voice of Fulton County. Lambs of God Daycare and Preschool, located on Avenue A in Canton. Helping bring you this event, Monocle's Pizza, located on North 5th Avenue in Canton. In Canton, we deliver. By Canton Napa, located on North 1st Avenue in Canton. Innovations Hair Design, with locations in Canton and Macomb. Sedgwick Funeral Homes, with locations in Canton, Farmington, and Bartonville. CD Country, your home in the country. Wesley United Methodist Church, to know Christ and make Him known. By M. Bixler Video Productions. Interested in underwriting an event? Give us a call. It costs less than you think. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Donaldson's Community Center in Canton. It is time for the Meet the Candidates Forum for 2016. And now we go to Kevin Stevenson, our moderator.
Good evening, and welcome to the Donaldson Center here at Wallace Park in Canton for this Meet the Candidates Forum. I'm Kevin Stevenson, the moderator. As we begin, please stand as you are able, face the flag, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight's event is organized by the Fulton County Farm Bureau's Legislative Committee and the Canton Area Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee. Funding support and sponsorship is also provided by Gorsuch Hensley Real Estate and American Pest Control. We welcome all of you attending in person, to the live listening audience on WBYS AM 1560 and FM 93.7, and the viewers on the Canton, Cuba, and Lewistown cable TV systems, thanks to the cooperation of M. Bixler Video Productions. The purpose of this forum is to allow the candidates the opportunity to present information about themselves, their platforms, and their ideas. It is not being conducted in a debate format. Candidates whose names appear on the November 8th general election ballot in Fulton County were sent a letter inviting them to appear. Even though all candidates were invited, we realize some have other commitments that have been made prior to knowing the date and time of our event here this evening. Therefore, they're not able to attend. Others have chosen not to participate. The candidates will speak in the order their names appear on the ballot. Each candidate will be introduced by the moderator. All candidates will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Serving as timer is the Legislative Committee Chairperson of the Farm Bureau, Joe Tolley. Joe will inform the candidates when their time is up by the sound of the bell. Joe always enjoys doing that. In fairness to all candidates, the time limits will be carefully monitored and enforced. A question and answer portion of the program will take place after all candidates have spoken. It will be for those offices where more than one candidate for that office is present tonight. I will ask questions that have been provided by the Farm Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, and local media. Candidates are under no obligation to respond to questions if they choose not to. The response to the first question directed to a candidate will be made in the opposite order of how their name appears on the ballot. The order of first response will alternate for each subsequent question. Responses to questions will be limited to 1 minute. No questions will be taken for the audience or from the audience in either written or spoken form. The Farm Bureau and the Chamber reserve the right to determine, as the program moves along, and in the interests of time, as to whether or not the question and answer segment will continue. Fulton County Clerk Jim Nelson is here this evening. After the question and answer segment, he will have information for us about voting procedures and other matters of interest to voters. You'll notice there are campaign materials in the back of the room to look at and pick up after the meeting. Refreshments will be served at the conclusion of the event as well. All candidates are also welcome to stay afterwards and talk to the audience one-on-one. So let's get underway with the first race. For United States House of Representatives, 17th District, there are two candidates running. One of them is here tonight, Republican Patrick Harlan.
Hello guys, I'm Patrick Harlan. I'm the Republican nominee for the 17th Congressional District race. I'm here tonight by myself. Of course, we don't have Cheri Bustos again. Every place I go to, she hasn't showed up, so I want to make a point of that you guys have the right to know where we stand at on the issues, but for some apparent reason, my opponent will never come out and debate. So this has definitely been a interesting campaign. I'm married. I have 4 kids. I'm from Galesburg, Illinois. I was currently a truck driver before I got into politics. Now I'm an insurance agent. The reason why I got in this race was because Bustos was on the wrong side of all the issues that I believe in. She supported the Iran nuclear deal. She's a 100% pro-choice individual. And also my brother's a Purple Heart recipient, which Cheri Bustos did not take the opportunity to be able to come out and help us get that Purple Heart. So when she talks about being for the veterans, she definitely didn't show up for my family. Also, when I decided to take this run for this race, I truly felt as if I was the best option for the 17th District because of my background, because I am a true, hard-working, blue-collar man that understands Midwest family values. So that's why I jumped into this race. Since getting into this race, we've actually got to the point to where we've got a lot of great support from just grassroots. We're working hard, knocking on doors. We're doing what we got to do to make a difference out here. So it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot along the way. I just wish that you guys would have the opportunity to be able to see what both of us have to offer. I want to also say real quick on the Farm Bureau endorsed my candidate Cheri Bustos, but Cheri Bustos signed the WOTUS Act, and I'm not sure exactly why they would why they'd endorse her when she signs the WOTUS Act. So I want to share that with everybody. I know that they say that it's because of the votes that they give, so I want to make sure that everybody's understanding that I'm the one that's going to support manufacturers, farmers, families, veterans. That's what I believe in. I believe in life. I believe in family values. I believe in Christianity. Those are the things I stand for. While Bustos sitting on the House floor trying to get more legislation passed, I feel as if that was a huge mistake for the 17th District, and she's also a strong supporter in Obamacare. So, guys, we know Obamacare is a complete destruction. We cannot afford to have Obamacare any longer. We need to repeal this, get rid of Common Core, get rid of Obamacare, and that's what I'm going to do for you guys. I'll be around here after this is over, so please come over, see me. We can talk a little bit more. Unfortunately, my time is out, so I don't have a whole lot of time to get into everything, and I look forward to seeing you guys after the meeting. Thank you so much for letting me come out.
In state races for Illinois Comptroller, there are 4 candidates running. One of them is here tonight, Democrat Susana Mendoza.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. My name is Susana Mendoza. I am the Democratic nominee for Illinois Comptroller, and I'm very excited to be here once again. I just came a little bit earlier from eating at the wonderful diner that said, "Go Cubs, go, don't stink it up," or something like that. So we're going to win. Cubbies are going to win. But in any event, I am currently the city clerk in the city of Chicago, and I have, prior to that, I served 10 years in the Illinois legislature. I got to serve with Jill over there. It's, my gosh, so long since I've seen you. It's nice to see you. And I served 10 years at the time that I was elected. I was the youngest member elected in that chamber at the time. and I served, I would say, very honorably for 10 years, and then had the opportunity to run for the office of Chicago City Clerk, which is the second largest office in the city. It's one of only 3 citywide elected positions, and I was the first woman ever elected to the office of the city clerk, and very proud of that. But mostly I'm proud because I took an office that was once seen at the time that I actually got elected as an office that shouldn't even exist. And the Civic Federation, which is a very well-respected organization in Chicago that frankly leans Republican, every year they put out a report, talks about ways to make government work better for taxpayers and so forth. And their recommendation that year that I took office was to eliminate the office, to fold it into the mayor's office, that they could save a few $1 million and taxpayers would be better served. But I campaigned on the premise that I was going to really transform the office and make it work for taxpayers, and I've done exactly that. The very first thing that we are known for in our office of the city clerk is for issuing what is known as a wheel tax. We issue city stickers and we collect a wheel tax, which is basically, unfortunately, a tax on anyone who has a vehicle in the city of Chicago. But this tax has existed since 1908. Does that year sound familiar? All right, it was when the Cubs won the World Series. But so in 5 years that I've been in elected office, I've taken a program where stickers used to only be sold in the month of June, and 1.3 million people were buying them at once, impossible to do well. And I transitioned the system to a year-round system where 1.3 million people now do it within a 12-month period. And that has generated over $70 million in new revenue for the city without asking taxpayers to pay more for their sticker. We've taken our lines down from 2 to 3 hours to 5 to 10 minutes. And I've done it with less personnel, come in under budget every year as city clerk, and have reduced my overtime by 70%. This is the type of forward-thinking, innovative leadership as an executive manager that I have. I've been tested and proven to be a great one, and I look forward to being a fiscal watchdog that makes the Office of the Controller work much better for the people of this state. We'll always prioritize people over performance bonuses for employees, and I would ask for your vote in serving the most vulnerable and hardworking people of the state of Illinois. Thank you very much.
For state senator from the 47th district, there's one candidate running, Republican Jill Tracy.
Well, good evening. Thank you all for hosting. It's good to be with you all. First of all, let me say that I'm running for the State Senate 47th District. It's southwestern part of Fulton County, down by Astoria, Ipava, and that area. Anyway, my name is Jill Tracy, as I said, and my husband Jim and I raised 4 children in Mount Sterling. And we met in law school. My husband and I are both attorneys. I was in private practice in Mount Sterling. My husband was general counsel for a family business that his father started and his mother several years back, known as Dot Foods. In the late 90s, I became an assistant attorney general and was appointed to oversee 19 counties in west central Illinois. And that helps me get used to the Senate district, which is 11 counties. So I'm very used to the geographic area of west central Illinois. And I entered the House of Representatives as a Republican in 2006, and I served for 9 years, and I left in 2014. And while there, I have a proven record of social and fiscal responsibility and conservatism, and I'm very proud of that record. And while there, I received the Farm Bureau Activator Awards and endorsements for all the years I ran, also the Chamber of Commerce Awards, the Guardian Protector of Free Enterprise on behalf of the Chamber, and I was also endorsed always by the NRA and the pro-life groups. And so I'm very proud of that proven track record. But most of all, what I want to see is that we address our fiscal crisis in Illinois. And that's why I've chosen to re-enter when Senator Sullivan announced that he was not running. I chose that I should get back into the race to run for Senate, because I want to get back to the state, see that our state finances get back in track, and that we get back to where we can have a balanced budget. Under the George Ryan administration, George Ryan wasn't popular, but I can tell you that was the last time we had a balanced budget in Illinois, and it is possible again. But it's going to take a lot of courage and effort, and I want to use my legal skills, my skills as a wife, mother, and former legislator to do just that. There is much waste in state government that we can still address, and we've got to take care of our obligations and turn the fiscal crisis around. Likewise, I want to see rural education maintained and funded properly. So I'm willing to get back and use those skills, and I look forward to working with the people of Fulton County. When I was working as Assistant Attorney General, I traveled to Fulton County very often as an attorney, and so I feel like I'm acquainted. I mentioned I was a House member. I represented 7 of the 11 counties that are now in the 47th district. So I feel like I'm familiar with the issues, the people, and I'm looking forward to working for all of you and finding those solutions to our state's problems and getting us back on track to where we need to be and getting economic opportunities back to the state. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
For State House of Representatives from the 91st District, there's one candidate running, Republican Mike Eunice.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is so wonderful to be with you again. I really always enjoy this forum and want to take a moment to say thank you to the Canton Area Chamber of Commerce and to the Fulton County Farm Bureau for continuing to put this forum on, because I think it's a very important one. This was one of the very first ones that I attended. I remember back in the 2009 primary. It's hard to believe it's been that long. So I will say from the bottom of my heart to everyone who's watching and that's here, really thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and even though that there's not an opponent running against me, I still wanted to be here because this forum is important to me. And it's really that constituent service and that living and knowing the pulse of your district that is what gives me the energy right now that is needed, especially now more than ever in Springfield. It's no secret, it is a very challenging time in Springfield, and I think the more that an elected official can understand and know the pulse, be it from state employees or from the city of Canton, what's going on, and being able to address those issues, and being able to right a wrong in someone's personal life, that is the rewards that I receive and that I really value, because it's those rewards that allows me to continue to go to Springfield and, continue on the very challenging times that we are faced with. It's unacceptable that we don't have a state budget. Completely unacceptable. We've been a state since 1818. I understand there's a need for reforms, but there's also a need to have a state budget. And it's completely unacceptable that we don't. One bright spot, I would say, at the end of this past session that happened, and you won't hear me bragging about this, you won't hear me jumping up and down because we should have done it a long time ago, was the fact that we were able to get a stopgap budget. The reason I bring it up is because it was important how that developed. That really developed from rank and file members on both sides of the aisle. Both sides of the aisles went from rank and file members to their leadership and said, this is what has to happen. I'm very hopeful that in a couple of weeks when this silly season ends, that common sense can be restored, that we can go back to Springfield, that we can continue to build off that common ground for the good of this area, for the good of the state. And so from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and those that know me know that my door is always open. And so I encourage you to continue to call, because again, that's helpful to me, and it gives me that rewarding experience to go and continue to advocate for you in Springfield. Thank you all very much.
For State House of Representatives from the 93rd District, there are 2 candidates running. One of them is here tonight, Democrat John Curtis.
Well, it is a pleasure to follow Susana Mendoza, who is probably the hardest working candidate in Illinois. She does not miss any opportunity at any part of the state, and it's an honor to follow her. I want to thank the Fulton County Farm Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce's. I'm looking forward to working with both of those groups. And also Mike Eunice. I'm looking forward to working with other state representatives when I get elected, both Democrat and Republican. And of course, Jill Tracy. Yes, and our state senator. I'm a teacher. I teach at Western Illinois University, and I'm a farmer. I've been farming for almost 20 years now. And I'm a small business owner and have been very active in my community, but also in my state, or in the state. I've been board president of Illinois Stewardship Alliance, and I'm running because it's time for normal working people to stand up and take Illinois back from politicians. It's a disaster out there. I don't think I need to convince anybody about that situation. I'm running against Noreen Hammond, as you know. For 14 months, I've been knocking on doors. In Fulton County, I've been in Ipava, Table Grove, Avon, Smithfield, Marietta, Vermont, Astoria, and I haven't yet got to Bernie Dot. I hope to do that in the next 11 days. Is there anybody here that knows that they're in my district? Hey, thank you. Thank you for coming. Yeah, so this is good practice anyway, right? Being at over 10,000 doors and meeting voters and hearing what they have to say has been kind of the basis of this campaign of mine for state representative. And, you know, I can tell you that people they're kind of tired of both political parties right now. And, you know, the problems that face Illinois are not Democrat or Republican problems, they're people problems. And one of the things that I promised to do to my one voter in the back is work very hard to make sure that the Democrats and Republicans, at least for my part, are working together on getting some things done and getting Illinois back on track. So I sure appreciate the opportunity to come out and speak to you tonight, and look forward to working with you as your state representative.
Turning our attention now to county offices. For Fulton County Treasurer, there's one candidate running, Democrat Stacey Mayall.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Stacey Mayall. I'd like to start off this evening thanking the Fulton County Farm Bureau and the Canton Chamber of Commerce for their continued support and hosting of this event. I'd also like to thank Canton Park District for the use of the Donaldson Building, and also WBYS, the Democrat, and the Ledger for covering this evening's event. A little personal history about myself. I was born and raised in Fulton County. I will hopefully forever have Fulton County and be in Fulton County in my heart. I reside in Canton with my husband Chad, and we have two amazing boys, Connor, who is a freshman, and Brady, who is a fifth grader. We also have furry members of our family, a dog Lacey and our cat Aber. A little bit about my journey with Fulton County. I started working in the treasurer's office as the chief deputy treasurer in April of 2015. In December of 2015, I was appointed as your county treasurer with the retirement of Vic Harper. Since that time, with becoming your county treasurer, I've worked really hard on improving the productivity and the efficiency of that office. Some of the accomplishments that I would like to highlight this evening is first and foremost our software conversion, and I'm sure many of you in Fulton County heard about our long drawn out conversion of our software program. Under my leadership with solidifying the Fulton County team and the software team, we were able to work through those challenges, those difficulties, and I'm proud to say that after about 3 months under my leadership, Fulton County started getting the financial reports that the board members and the department heads were accustomed to getting, so they got a real financial picture of where Fulton County was at that moment, every day and monthly. Another thing that has been very important to my office is the cross-training of the members of my team. That has not only improved on the efficiency of the treasurer's office, but the service that we provide to those that come in. Another thing that I have worked very hard on is the better use of technology in my department and actually implementing new technology in what we use. That's just a little bit of highlighting of what I have done in my position as serving as county treasurer. I am extremely goal-oriented. I love to be able to make a difference in everything I do, and I think that my positivity and my real outlook on being financially and fiscally responsible brings value to the position of what I do as serving Fulton County. So my journey has just begun. I look forward to the opportunity to continue to serve as your county treasurer. I am honored to do that in the capacity that I do. And in conclusion, I ask for your support in the election to vote Stacey Mayall as your county treasurer. And thank you very much for your time.
For Fulton County Board from District 3, there are 4 candidates running to fill 4 open seats. One of them is here tonight, Democrat Neil Williams. Your 3 minutes.
I'm Neil Williams. I've been on the county board 10 years now, and those of you who have listened to me before have heard my cry for financial management, which we lack in the county. We have very little financial management, and if you just read the newspaper, we're getting into deeper trouble. We're talking about 5 layoffs, budget's unbalanced, and a little history. I'd been on the county board 4 years, and we had unbalanced budgets. 6 years ago, George Hall became chairman of the county board. He asked me if I would chair the finance committee, and I said, I'll do it under one condition: we balance the budget, we make a financial plan. Those next 2 years, we balanced the budget, we made a financial plan, and one of the caveats we had was we didn't want to lay off any employees to balance the budget, that we would try to let them go through attrition. We put a hiring freeze on, which simply made everybody justify the replacement of anybody who left their office. Actually, we didn't eliminate any positions, but we did get a good look at the staff that we had, and contrary to some people's belief, we found that we did not really have a lot of overstaffing in any office, but we did balance that budget. It was balanced for 2 years. I was in the process of developing a 1-year, 3-year, 5-year financial plan, which would have been rolling, so you're always looking 5 years out. The auditors like for us to have $3 million in reserve. We were going for $5 million in reserve. And the reason we'd go for $5 million in reserves, that gives you $2 million worth of financial ability to take care of the low spots. The money that we've lost and we're not getting in isn't just because the state's not paying their bills. It's not money that's going to come back in a few years. It's money because the population's down, the available money is not there. We need a financial plan. We don't have one today, and we're $800,000 in the red this year. The predictions that we've got for next year vary. The original budget called for it to be a little under $200,000. Now they're saying it's going to be $640,000 in the red. There's no planning, and we need to develop a financial plan for the county. If we don't, I think the dire consequences are coming. With the speaker you just heard, Stacey Mayall, being new in the office, we get updated, accurate, good financial information now, and we need that. We have a comptroller, Audra Miles, in the office, working usually under Mr. Nelson's direction. We have the people and the ability to do this. We're just not doing it. Currently, I serve on no committees due to differences of opinion between myself and the leadership. Thank you.
On the judicial side, for Judge of the Circuit Court, 9th Judicial Circuit, to fill the vacancy of Honorable Stephen R. Bordner, there are 2 candidates running. One of them is here tonight, Republican Ray Kavanaugh.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate showing up at a forum like this, sponsored by the Illinois Farm Bureau. It's important to know that our local economy is driven by the farms. I'd like you to know that I've worked on these farms in our circuit. I grew up in this circuit in Warren County, detasseled, baled hay, walked beans. Some of these jobs don't exist anymore, I understand. Baled hay, these types of things that I grew up doing in our fields. After graduation from high school, I went to college and then law school in John Marshall Law School in Chicago. After that, I became Cook County Assistant Public Defender, where I worked for a year and a half, and later became the Warren County Public Defender. Subsequent to that, I worked my way up. I became Assistant State's Attorney in Warren County, then became the State's Attorney in Henderson County, and 6.5 years ago, I was blessed with the opportunity to become sworn in as Associate Circuit Judge by the 9th Judicial Circuit. That was an enlightening process. The 10 circuit judges, of which I'm running for one position, decide who's going to be appointed as the Associate Judge. I'm blessed to have received the support of the circuit judges, and I've practiced in every county as a judge, presided in every county for a minimum of 1 year, including Fulton County last year. One of my honors last year, I got to swear in Stacy Mayall as your treasurer. That was a good day, right, Stacy? She's still smiling, so that's a good sign. My wife and I have 5 children that we raised in this circuit as well. 4 are grown. 1 thinks he's grown and is in college. We have a 2-year-old granddaughter. As a matter of fact, in 2 days she'll be 2 years old. And 14 months ago, when we began this campaign, she was 10 months old. So it's important to note that she probably doesn't remember anything but me campaigning at different events out of her memory. The Illinois Bar Association lawyers that appear in front of me, that work with me, have done a poll of all the people in this race. Out of 100 people that have answered the questions on me, 93% recommend me for this position. Out of 100 for my opponent, less than 33% recommend him for this job that he's recommended. On legal ability, out of 100 and some odd people, over 97 said, I've got the legal ability to do this job. My opponent, 39%. That's a dramatic difference that I think outweighs any party lines. It is based on merit alone, and that's why I'm asking for your support next month. Thank you.
For Judge of the Circuit Court, 9th Judicial Circuit, to fill the vacancy of Honorable James B. Stewart, there are 2 candidates running. Both are here tonight. We'll hear first from Democrat David Hansen.
Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to the Farm Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's event. I'm very glad we're here tonight instead of last night or tomorrow night, because I think we'd all be hard-pressed to compete with the Cubs playing a game in the World Series. So it was very good timing. Since graduating from law school nearly a decade ago, I've worked in many areas of the law. I've been in private practice representing clients. I've served as an assistant state's attorney in Knox County prosecuting the most serious felony cases. I also represented the county in civil matters and before the Illinois Appellate Court. Currently, I serve as a Knox County Chief Public Defender. That's a position I was appointed to by the unanimous vote of all the circuit judges of the 9th Circuit. I carry my own caseload. I manage 5 attorneys and 3 legal assistants. I'm also responsible for a budget of over $600,000 a year and have cut that budget by streamlining the office by over 10%. In the poll of attorneys conducted by the Illinois State Bar Association, I was recommended to serve as judge. I believe my experiences outside the courtroom, however, are just as important as my experiences in the courtroom. I live in Galesburg with my wife and our 3 children. I volunteer at their school. I coach their soccer teams. I worked my way through college and law school by waiting tables and tending bar. When I was 19, I enlisted in the United States Marine Corps Reserve. A month after starting law school, my unit was sent over to Iraq, where I served as a squad leader in a military police platoon assigned to convoy security. As a squad leader, I was responsible for millions of dollars of equipment and supplies, but most importantly, I was responsible for the safety and the lives of the 12 Marines that were in my squad and the 20 to 60 soldiers that were in each and every convoy. I learned to be a leader in Iraq. I learned to make important decisions for my squad that were potentially life and death decisions. Thankfully, and with God's help, I made the right decisions because every single one of us made it back home safely. Being a good judge requires more than just legal experience. It requires life experience and appreciating the consequences of the decisions you make. It's important to treat everybody with dignity and respect. What people want when they come into the courtroom is to be listened to and treated fairly. As a candidate for judge, what I commit to you is this, that I will be honest, that I will follow the law, that I will treat every person that comes into my courtroom with dignity and respect, and that I will bring all the wisdom that I have acquired as an attorney, a veteran, a husband, and a father to court with me every single day to work for fairness and justice. Thank you, and I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
For Judge of the Circuit Court, 9th Judicial Circuit, to fill the vacancy of Honorable James B. Stewart, the other candidate running is Republican Heidi Benson.
Hello, my name is Judge Heidi Benson. For 19 years, I've lived, practiced law, and been a judge at the 9th Judicial Circuit. Right now, I'm an associate judge in the 9th Judicial Circuit. The 9th Judicial Circuit is made up of Fulton, Knox, Warren, Henderson, McDonough, and Hancock counties. Those 6 counties share the same 14 judges. 4 of us are associate judges. Judge Kavanaugh and myself are associate judges. 10 of the spots are circuit judges. They are our bosses. They are the managers of the circuit. Guess how many of those 10 spots are held by women? 0. And historically, none in the 9th Judicial Circuit. We have never had a female circuit judge, ever. We are the last circuit in the state of Illinois to have that dubious distinction. Right now, there are 2 circuit judge spots open. Judge Kavanaugh is running for one. I am running for the other. Okay, so maybe the lack of female representation is historically interesting, but you want to vote for the best candidate, right? I graduated from Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois in 1994. I went to the University of Illinois Law School, graduated in 1997. I've been a lawyer for 19 years. 5 of those I've been a judge. I'm married to Macomb High School science teacher David Benson. I've been married for 20 years. We're raising 2 children together in Macomb, Illinois. All of the judicial candidates were subject to the Illinois State Bar Association bar poll. You notice my opponent didn't tell you what his numbers were. I will. On the bar poll, I got a 97% for legal ability. My opponent scored a 67% for legal ability. I've got 19 years in as a judge and an attorney in this circuit. My opponent has 6. My opponent is a veteran, and that is a good and honorable thing. But does that mean that he is qualified to show up to your work tomorrow and be your boss? That's what he's asking. He's asking to be my boss. As a judge, I've streamlined the ordinance violation payment system. I put in text message alert systems. In juvenile delinquency court, I've only used half of my budget with the fiscal year almost set to expire, saving McDonough County tens of thousands of dollars. Thank you for your attention here today. Thank you to the Farm Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce. On November 8th, vote for the best candidate and hope the 9th Judicial Circuit make history. Thank you.
Also on the judicial side, voters are asked to vote on a proposition as to whether or not William Ponson shall be retained in office as judge of the Appellate Court, 9th Judicial Circuit. William Ponson is here tonight.
I appreciate the promotion, but actually I'm running for circuit judge retention. I'm Bill Ponson, and I am the person, well, if you go down ballot, you'll see a question, should Judge so-and-so be retained, yes or no? This year, I happen to be that so-and-so. Now, I attended Western Illinois University. I met my wife at Western. We're both grads. I went to the John Marshall Law School. Most of my career was spent as a prosecutor. I was state's attorney in McDonough County for 16 years. As far as contact with Fulton County goes, my first year on the bench, I was assigned to the Fulton County Courthouse. My wife, Karen, however, spent 16 years at the Canton campus of Spoon River College, where she was an assistant dean. We have a daughter, Margaret, who teaches at DePaul University in Chicago. Now, when I ran for my job 6 years ago, I ran in a contested election. And that's what happens when a vacancy exists in the office of circuit judge. However, when that vacancy is filled by that first election, a judge runs for retention. And why is that? Well, there's a couple of good reasons. First of all, we want our judges to be independent. And one of the ways to ensure that is to keep partisan politics out of the courtroom. On the other hand, we want our judges to be accountable to the public, so a judge runs for retention. To get elected that first time, you need 50% plus one vote. To be retained, you need a 60% yes vote. In addition to that, when I initially ran, I ran only in McDonough County, but when you run for retention, you run in all 6 counties that make up our circuit. As a judge, I've spent most of my time also, in addition to my courtroom duties, acting as an administrative judge. And that's given me an opportunity to improve the court system. I have reorganized the court system, adopting a policy where there's continuity, greater judicial efficiency. I've cut the cost of court-appointed attorneys. I have had an opportunity to install video monitoring in the courtroom, between the courtroom and the jail, to improve courtroom security. I've created a walk-in court where 3 days a week people can arrive without appointments and get their cases resolved on the spot. And one of my accomplishments that I'm most proud of is I've set up drug court in McDonough County with the help of a lot of other good people. But that program literally saves lives and tax dollars. If we didn't have that program, some of these people would never reach useful, normal citizenship and get their lives back in control. It's much less than prison, the cost of prison, and the success rate is much higher. I ask that when it comes to the question, yes or no, you consider a yes vote. Thank you.
We'll now begin the question and answer portion of the program. As explained earlier, the questions were put together by Farm Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, and local media. I'll ask the questions, and the candidates will speak in the opposite order of which their names appear on the ballot. The topic of some questions may have already been addressed during the candidate's 3-minute presentation. If that's the case, it will provide an opportunity for them to elaborate on the topic if they so choose. Again, the candidates are not required to respond to a question if they do not wish to. Since more than one question may be, and most likely will be, asked of the candidate for a particular office, the order of responses will be alternated for the second question and all subsequent questions. Responses to questions will be limited to 1 minute, and the candidates may ask for a question to be repeated. We'll hear more from the candidates for Judge of the Circuit Court of the Ninth Judicial Circuit. So would Ray Kavanaugh, Heidi Benson, and David Hansen all come forward, please? The first question, drawing on your experience as a practicing attorney, what do you think a judge can do to make the legal process more efficient for the average citizen and his or her attorney? Ray Kavanaugh?
I think the thing that we can do is be prompt. We try to start court. I always check and start court at the time that the case is set for. On the third floor of the Knox County Courthouse, where I'm assigned this year, we have a lot of self-help where attorneys are not part of the equation, where the litigants are pro se, they represent themselves. We have equal access to justice in the state of Illinois, so I give them that access to justice. We make sure that the other party's notified of the hearing. We help them fill out forms. Sometimes they don't fill out the forms adequately, but the orders have to be filled out. So that's one way that we assist in walk-in courts and people representing themselves in their own divorce and their own small claims lawsuit or whatever legal proceeding they have before the court. Thank you.
Heidi Benson?
I would agree with Judge Kavanaugh. Being prompt is very important. Another thing that is very important is carefully explaining what is going on and the reason that you are ruling a particular way or the reason that the case has to be heard again on a different day, or I always try to reference the law that applies to the case so that people understand where my decision is coming from. In the event that people don't have attorneys, it's very important that they get access to the Supreme Court materials for self-represented litigants. Illinois Legal Aid Online also has really great instructions and forums for people who are trying to navigate the legal system on their own as well.
And David Hansen.
I think making sure that the people who come into your courtroom know what your expectations are, knowing that you want to run a timely, prompt courtroom, making sure that they understand what the process is, and you treat them with courtesy. You don't talk down to them. You're not condescending to them. You treat them with respect. And if there's a question as far as what's going on, if it's your role as judge, make sure you explain it. Make sure they understand what's going on. If you're dealing with attorneys, don't embarrass an attorney in open court necessarily. Talk to them. If something's not going on that you think needs to be going on, pull them aside and talk to them privately. But I think the biggest thing is making sure you treat people respectfully in the courtroom. And you treat them with dignity, and you make sure that everybody knows what your expectations are and what's going on in the courtroom. Thank you.
The next question, what role, if any, do you believe political affiliations play in the general duties and decisions of the court? Heidi Benson?
I think unlike other offices, political affiliation plays pretty much zero in the administration of the court. I've been a judge for 5.5 years. I've never had anyone come to me from either party and suggest how a case should be ruled on one way or another. I've never had either of the parties question a ruling that I made on that basis. Perhaps in the appellate courts and in the Supreme Court, which are more policy-making courts, there's a role for partisanship, but I don't really see it in the trial court level that Judge Kavanaugh and I work in.
David Hansen.
I think political affiliation has absolutely no role in the courtroom whatsoever. Excuse me. I think that the judge's role is to listen to the facts and apply the law fairly and evenly based on the merits of the case. And any partisan politics, has absolutely no place in the courtroom. And I know a lot of states actually don't even have, when people are running for judge, don't even have Democrat or Republican next to their names on the ballot. And I, personally, I think that's the way it should be, because partisan politics, again, no place in the courtroom. Thank you.
And Ray Kavanaugh.
I agree with both. I don't ask anybody that appears before me what party they're from. I don't ask their affiliation. I don't care. What I do care about is the facts of the case. I don't care a person's sexual preference. I don't care what color they are, what race or gender they are. I don't care. What I care about is what the charges are, what the evidence is, and what evidence is factual evidence before I make a determination. Don't care about anything else. I might make fun if somebody wears a Cardinals jersey to court. I'm a White Sox fan, so I'm not going to cheer Go Cubs, sorry. But it really doesn't matter to me what a person's political allegiance is. Thank you.
The next question, if elected judge, or if you'd continue in that role, how would or does your courtroom differ from those you practiced in as an attorney? Heidi Benson.
It really depends. There are a lot of judges that I appeared in front of that I would be absolutely honored if someone were to pay me the compliment that I conducted my courtroom as well as Judge Henderson or Judge Wilhelm or Judge Clerkin, Judge Evans, lots of great people. I have also, because I've been in the practice of law for 19 years, I have seen some judges who have come unglued on people, have berated young attorneys who probably needed some mentoring. So I try very hard, especially with young attorneys, to be patient. I try very hard never to embarrass anyone. I try very hard to always be calm, explain what's going on, explain what my expectations are. And I got gonged.
David Hanson.
Well, I would think about which judges I've appeared in front of where I thought they did a good job as far as the demeanor in their courtroom, and which ones were not so good, and try to emulate the ones that are good. Paul Mangieri, I think in Knox County, is one of the judges who runs the best courtroom in that entire courthouse, perhaps in the entire circuit. He's prompt, he's on time, he's thoughtful, he treats everybody who comes into his courtroom courteously. He explains all of his decisions, a lot of times citing law, and he takes the time to do everything right. And if something's not going right, he's patient, but he'll also explain to you what your expectations are, what his expectations are. Contrast that with a judge who I've seen before, not in the circuit, but another judge who took every opportunity to try to belittle every single attorney and every single litigant who came into that courtroom. You wouldn't know what the rules were, but you were going to be held to them. And this judge just was condescending, was rude to people, and it created a real hostile environment to be in that courtroom. That's the kind of courtroom I wouldn't run. Thank you.
And Ray Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Mr. Hanson's mentioned several times treating everybody with dignity and respect. Try to do that every single time, and much of it, especially when people are representing themselves, is being patient and explaining. They don't understand, explain it again. They still might not understand, I explain it again. So it's a matter of being patient and deliberate and understanding that when somebody's about to lose their cool, that you either calm them down by tone of voice or by taking pauses, maybe a break, but it's by treating people right. And that's what I think every taxpayer deserves, and that's why I treat every taxpayer. Thank you.
Moving on, do you believe a judge's decision should be affected by the possibility an appellate court might disagree with the opinion or ruling? David Hanson?
No, that would not be a concern. What I will do is I'll follow the law. And I'm going to apply the law to the facts that are presented to me in court the best that I can. Could it be reversed? Yes. Is the prior appellate court decisions part of the law that I'm going to look at? Absolutely. But would I be scared of being overturned if I thought what I was doing was following the law and applying it evenly to the facts? Absolutely not. I would not be. Thank you.
Ray Kavanaugh.
Well, I'm finally out of the last, so that's a good thing. But no, I don't worry or stay awake at night thinking that I might get reversed. When you try a case, you do the best that you can with the objection that's before the court, with the evidence before the court. And you wouldn't have tried the cases if you weren't reversed at some point in time. I've been reversed. More than often than not, I've been affirmed on almost every case. I think there was one reversal. But you know what? I try to treat people right in a case-by-case basis. And sometimes the appellate courts look at things differently. They've had the time to review transcripts and introspection that I don't have as a trial court. But I'm going to treat it like I'm the deciding person and let the appellate court figure it out later if I've made a mistake. Thank you.
And Heidi Benson.
I would agree with Judge Kavanaugh and Mr. Hanson that you certainly cannot make your decisions based on fear of reversal from the appellate court. The trial court level, you do the absolute best you can to follow the law and apply the facts, make a good record of what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if you're wrong, the appellate court will certainly let you know. And sometimes even you're trying an issue where there is no clear answer. The appellate court has not given direction. The statute is unclear. And I've invited attorneys before, take it up on appeal and see if the appellate court wants to make some law and explain to us what we should be doing.
The next question, regarding criminal matters, would you consider the problem of overcrowding in state prisons when deciding on a sentence for the perpetrator of a nonviolent crime? Ray Kavanaugh.
Thank you. And for property offenses, it's still a criminal act. The legislature has deemed a certain level of offense for any criminal act. And frankly, there's a presumption of probation in existence in the state of Illinois. I believe that presumption is a strong one and must be overcome by factors such as a long criminal history, which would justify a prison sentence. I don't do that for first offenders unless it's a crime of violence. If it's an armed robbery, that's an automatic prison sentence. One thing that we look at, and I'm in charge of in Knox County this year, is drug court. I believe strongly in drug court and working with people conquer their addictions. I believe it's very, very important to try to keep them from being just tax takers and drug users to becoming sober, drug-free, and productive and taxpayers, productive members of society. I believe in that strongly. I work with my people every week. Thank you. Bye.
Heidi Benson.
No. The fact that the state of Illinois has been mismanaged does not affect the way I decide cases. On all criminal cases, we have guidelines depending on what level of felony it is. There is a sentencing range. There are a lot of felonies that do have a presumption in favor of probation, which means that we need to look at probation first and follow the law to do that. But just like in my juvenile cases, I know that DCFS is underfunded, but that does not affect the way that I handle the cases. I still hold DCFS to the standard that they should be held to. And I think the same way with the Illinois prison system. The legislature decides what the punishment should be. We are just administering the law. If they think class 4 felonies shouldn't go to prison anymore, they need to pass that law. They need to revise the sentencing. I got gone again.
And David Hanson.
Overcrowding would not be a proper consideration in deciding what somebody's sentence would be. What the charge is, the fact that it's nonviolent, the defendant's criminal history, other statutory factors and mitigation and aggravation, those would all be proper considerations. And like Judge Kavanaugh said, there's a presumption of probation. So if this is a first-time offender who's come into the criminal justice system because of a nonviolent mistake, a mistake related to an addiction or a mental health problem, certainly we shouldn't ruin the rest of that person's life with a sentence to the Department of Corrections. But we have to follow what the statutory guidelines are. Overcrowding in the prison system is not one of those guidelines.
And the final question on a somewhat related note, when it comes to the drug problems prevalent in Fulton and surrounding counties, what would you do or do you do as a judge to help remedy the problem by utilizing the power of the court? Heidi Benson.
Well, the first thing I do is when I am setting bonds on those cases, if I think someone could benefit from rehab, I usually set the bond pretty high so that they can't bond out right away. And then I dangle a carrot in front of them and say, although if you were to consider going to inpatient rehab, I would consider letting you out of jail for that purpose. Another thing that I do is encourage attorneys and the state's attorney's office to consider drug court. I agree with Judge Ponson. Drug court has been wonderful in our area to intensively work with people who have a drug problem to get them the help they need to stay sober, to take care of their families, to hold down employment.
David Hansen.
I agree. Drug court is a great program. What it is, it's an alternative when somebody's possibly facing a prison sentence. Instead of sending that person to prison, you can give them a real intensive probation type sentence where they're having to come to court every day or every week. They're being drug tested 1, maybe 2 times a week. And it brings in some of the drug abuse providers into the court system as well to help hopefully divert a prison sentence and get that person over their addiction and back on their feet again. I agree as far as setting bond high. That's a regular practice we do in Knox County. And if it's a first or second time offender and it's all drug related and it's non-violent, you set the bond high. You let the attorneys know what your expectations are as far as if they or the family members of the person can get into an inpatient treatment program, you're willing to go ahead and let them out to go to that inpatient treatment program. When they're discharged, successfully or unsuccessfully, they have to come back to Knox County Jail, check themselves back in, and if they do all of that, they can come back into court before you, and maybe you let them stay out so they can do some follow-up care, outpatient treatment. Thank you.
And Ray Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Addictions to drugs are devastating to your community. I've seen it here with meth labs, heroin problems with fatalities here in Canton. There's a severe problem, and addictions make people's personalities completely different. Most of the victims on their types of crimes are their loved ones, their parents, their grandparents, or through children that come into the system through the Department of Children and Family Services, through shelter care hearings. It's very, very important to work with them, to hold the people accountable. Our regular probation is set up to do that as well. Our intensive or drug court probation does that even more thoroughly. It's about holding people accountable to cure themselves of the addictions. And you've got to have the carrot as well as the stick that they're going to be held accountable and put in jail if they violate. Thank you.
And thank you to the 3 candidates for the 9th Judicial Circuit Judgeships, Heidi Benson, David Hansen, and Ray Kavanaugh. Thank you. Thank you, David. That concludes the question and answer portion of the forum. As usual, an election involves many races and ballot styles and other factors. We've asked Fulton County Clerk Jim Nelson to take a couple of minutes to sort it all out for us. Jim.
I won't need the 3 minutes. Thanks, Kevin. Again, I'd like to thank the Fulton County Farm Bureau, Canton Chamber of Commerce. Give them a big hand for doing this every year. The media that's here. I'm going to start by saying I think Representative Eunice said the next silly 2 weeks. That's a very polite term. I wouldn't use the word silly. 12 years I've never had an election like what's happening right now. Let me just tell you, stop listening to TV, be it MSNBC or Fox. Quit watching or looking at Facebook, Twitter, whatever the Snapchat thing. I don't do any of them. I'm here to tell you that there's no race rigged. Nothing is rigged. In Fulton County, your ballot is never out of the sight of a Democrat and Republican judge from the start of the day till the end of the night. No matter where it's at, it has a D and an R at the site, in the vehicle, at the courthouse. I probably have 10 of each. It's never out of the sight of any Democrat or Republican judge. In my computer room where it's uploaded, I have 2 more DNRs. So rest assured, one, I'm not going to stand in front of one of these judges saying, yeah, I made a mistake. I'm not going to jail for any race, mine included. So in Fulton County and really throughout the state of Illinois, don't worry about that. It's not going to happen. Not saying it hasn't happened somewhere, not going to be downstate. Now, as far as voting, if you need to be registered to vote and you have changed your name, you've moved, got married, got divorced, please come to the courthouse. It's grace period voting. You can change it right there. If you wait to do it on election day, which you can do, I can assure you, you're going to stand in line. It's going to take a little while, so be patient. If you get disrespectful, they'll call me and I'll say you have 2 choices, stand in line or go home. You've had plenty of chances to get this done, and it's a very time-consuming process. You just don't walk in and we hand you a ballot. We have to have the system in Canton hooked up to our servers in Lewiston to make sure that everything is live. Because once we scan you in and we hand you that ballot, we know you voted. So you can't go anywhere else. So you aren't voting twice either. And we don't do that in Fulton County either. So right now, you can vote early at the courthouse, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're going to be open this Saturday, October 29th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Next Saturday, November 5th, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Anybody needs to do a registration, come in, you have to vote right then. We've had a very large turnout so far of both early voters in-house and also by the mail. So please come vote early. You don't have to worry about the weather. You know the weather's going to be great on this weekend. First part of the week, if you're in Lewiston, please come vote. Get it out of the way. You don't have to worry about what November 8th could bring. Who knows what the weather will be like. You want it to be good. I know I do for my judges. So we're open to vote. If you have received in the mail applications to vote by mail, that's great. I truly wish representatives and senators, we could do that every election. I could mail a ballot out to every registered voter in Fulton County because I would do it. Voting is elections are a very expensive proposition in Fulton County. It's a $300,000 proposition in Fulton County, and we don't levy for it. It comes out of our general fund. So $300,000 to run 2 elections. And that's not overpaying. That is, so you know, we have 285 judges, 57 precincts, 33 polling places, and a very large county, about the 8th largest county size-wise in the state of Illinois. A lot of area to cover. So please vote. And if you get that vote by mail application and it doesn't say return to me, I urge you strongly, you may still be getting them. Some of you may have already gotten them. Numerous parties have them mailed to a processing center. That's okay, but I can't guarantee you'll get a ballot. One of the letters said, please have this letter back to our processing center by November 3rd. That's the last day I can mail ballots out by law. I can't put a ballot in the mail on Friday the 4th. Thursday the 3rd is my last day. So if you get an application to vote by mail, no matter what the return envelope says, send it to Lewiston. Send it to the Fulton County Clerk, P.O. Box 226. We'll get it. We're even getting now where we're telling people as they call today for applications, no problem. But if you don't get it back right away, we can't control the mail. We can't control the mail. So make sure you get it back, because I have to have your application to cross-check your signature, which we have on file for every voter. That's what triggers us to then send you the correct ballot. Pretty easy election as far as ballots are concerned. We just have the one ballot style throughout the county. We're lucky. Next April, not so lucky. It'll be 110 to 115 ballot styles. So, open both Saturdays, the 29th and the 5th. Please come down to the courthouse 8 to 4 for the remainder through the 7th of November. And please vote. Vote by mail. Call us up, 547-3041, extension 120121, or just ask for elections. If you have any questions about the process or questions about voting, and trust me, don't worry about anything being rigged in Fulton County. I promise you that. Everything is above board, just like it is throughout the vast majority of the state of Illinois. Again, I'm Jim Nelson. I'll be back here in the back if you have questions. All the candidates, great candidates, spent a lot of time on the road. They all deserve a hand. I'd like to give them all a hand, and good luck. And please, take your right and vote. Thank you.
Good information, Jim. Thanks for coming, talking with us about that. So that wraps up Meet the Candidates. We thank each of the 11 candidates for participating this evening. We also thank the in-person, radio, and television audiences for being a part of it. And our sponsors, the Fulton County Farm Bureau Legislative Committee, the Canton Area Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Committee, Gorsuch Hensley Real Estate, and American Pest Control. You're reminded there are campaign materials in the back of the room to pick up and take with you. Refreshments are being served as well, and many of the candidates are sticking around to meet with those of you here at the Donaldson Center. As a reminder, a video recording of this event will be shown on a repeat basis for 24 hours on Channel 22 of the Canton, Cuba, and Lewistown cable TV systems. It will play Monday, October 31st, starting late morning, and again on Monday, November 7th, also with a late morning start. And a recorded audio version of the forum will air on WBYS AM 1560 and FM 93.7 mid to late afternoon on Monday, November 7th. The exact time will be announced on WBYS later. And as Jim said, here's the most important message of all. Please go to the polls on November 8th and exercise your right to vote. Thank you all for coming, and please drive carefully on your way home. Stick around and talk with the candidates, and have some coffee and cookies as well.
And that concludes the 2016 Meet the Candidates Forum for the general election. I'm Mark Bixler, News Director from the Donaldson Center. We now resume regularly scheduled programming. Helping bring you tonight's game, Spoon River Animal Clinic, compassionate care when needed most. The Bank of Farmington, with locations in Canton and Farmington. Remax Traders Unlimited, Susie McMillan, your local agent. WVYS, the voice of Fulton County. Lambs of God Daycare and Preschool, located on Avenue A in Canton. Helping bring you this event, Monical's Pizza, located on North 5th Avenue in Canton. In Canton, we deliver. By Canton Napa, located on North 1st Avenue in Canton. Innovations Hair Design, with locations in Canton and Macomb. Sedgwick Funeral Homes, with locations in Canton, Farmington, and Bartonville. CD Country, your home in the country. Wesley United Methodist Church, to know Christ and make him known. By M. Bixler Video Productions. Interested in underwriting an event? Give us a call. It costs less than you think.